Sup?
Howdy.
Hi.
And welcome to another edition of Does It Suck? With Lance.
Nick.
And Amber.
That went way better than I thought it would. So this week, we decided, let's let Lance pick a movie.
We should never let Lance pick movies.
It's more of I came up with the idea for the series, and like we should start with something pretty classic like Bram Stoker's Dracula. And you're like, yeah. And next time we'll watch Dracula Dead and Loving It. And I'm like, all right, I guess we're watching that one next.
So like anyone who's picked up on this at this point is like, okay, Bram Stoker's. These guys are serious about like vampire movies. And then the second episode, and they're like, and I'm done with this. So, but yeah, it's I love Dracula Dead and Loving It. It's one of my favorites. Leslie Nielsen movies. But we decided it fits within the criteria. So
anything vampire will is viable for this format, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. So this is the point where we're all going to guess each other's ratings, and Amber was not ready apparently.
I didn't know who we were starting with. Are we starting with you?
I don't know. So I just picked random numbers. So I figured,
Well, it's your talking. You get to ask you have the power of asking.
Oh, I don't know what to do with this power. I guess we'll say, Nick.
Yes.
If you had to grade Dracula Dead and Loving It on a scale from 0 to 10, what would you give it?
You got your number picked there, buddy?
I do, but I had them reversed.
You had the power. You had the power.
All right. Yes, I'm ready.
I think I would give this one 6.
I was close. I actually said 7.
It's so good whenever I'm actually able to figure it out. Oh my God, it's so good. I win, and thanks for watching.
It's not a competition. It's not a competition.
Okay, I know. I'm sorry.
Don't worry, you still have time to lose.
That's right.
So let's say, Amber, if you had to give Dracula Dead and Loving It 0 to 10, what would you give it?
So I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but for me, because I had seen a different Mel Brooks movie first, this one feels very derivative of it. So I would only give it a 5 because it's just kind of not one I enjoy. I was like,
this could be my favorite series yet.
You knew that going into this, though.
I knew you were going to be middle of the road, but I thought I was going between 4 and 5. I was like, I mean, there was no point in the back where you were just like, ugh. Yeah. So, I was like, all right, let's just stay right in the middle.
But at the same time, you guys heard, I didn't really laugh during that movie much at all.
There's a couple ones.
Oh, yeah.
For me.
There's still ones that get me, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just, it's the garlic part. Ooh. So, sorry, spoilers.
Yeah. Well, that leaves you, Lance. What would you give it? Scale 0 to 10.
I would give this movie... I'll say I'm going to say an 8.
Oh!
Yeah.
Look at that.
So
it's like I knew you would love and adore Leslie Nielsen, and I actually was like, I feel like I'm undercutting it by giving it an 8 instead of a 9.
So I almost said a 7, but I realized that I say 7 a lot.
Because it's a 7, it's a 7.
Well, so it's an 8.
It's because you love Leslie Nielsen. You would have married him if you had the choice.
I wish he was my grandpa. But yeah, the man in my eyes can do no wrong. I love almost every one of his movies. Picking a favorite Leslie Nielsen movie for me is very, very tough, just because I think they're all just wonderful. He's had a couple of stinkers, but even those are. I still find them enchanting. So the dude's just awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm an easy target when it comes to Leslie Nielsen movies. But
then you added Mel Brooks.
Well, that's the other guy, which was my grandpa. So like this was a perfect culmination of my favorite grandpas doing a movie together. So
yeah. So therefore, easy to read that this would be a high number for you.
Yeah.
I know it's one of your top-rated Mel Brooks movies, with Young Frankenstein being probably a 9 or a 10 for you, I'd imagine.
Yeah, well, have we done Young Frankenstein?
No, we've not done that one yet.
Okay.
We don't want to give it away.
No, but you might save that one for your birthday, because we've seen all that one plenty of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Put on your Ritz.
All right. Well, somebody suggests we do like a "What are your favorite movies?" Podcast part, and then maybe I can get it before my next birthday because I'm making you watch Transformers the movie next birthday. So.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, you could at least get away with that one for Have You Seen? Because I've not seen that one. But if I watch it, you can't slip it on me. But I wouldn't do that because that's not very fun.
Yeah, no, you're right.
All right, so do we want to give this one a quick rundown of how traditional vampire movie it is, and then just get into the movie?
Take it away.
'Cause I have a feeling this one will go pretty quick. 'Cause
Yes.
Last time we set up kind of like what the rules,
Yes.
air quotes, were for vampires.
Mm-hmm.
So blood dependency,
Yes.
immortality,
Yes.
yes, physical prowess.
Okay, we're gonna roll back on the immortality just a hair because he looking kind of dusty in this movie. So.
Yeah, but he was.
It's agelessness. It's the
You don't have to look old. I mean, you don't have to look young forever to be immortal. You can still age. You could be an immortal who ages and just never dies.
Yeah.
Okay, all right then. Yes, okay, immortal. Yes.
so physical prowess. I
Yes.
mean, he's got the strength.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He was doing the lifts with one hand.
Yeah, on both
Bet the
on both
bars.
Renfield and what the name the Weber guy, Steve Weber.
Yes.
What they name the character?
That was-
Harker.
that was
Harker.
Jonathan.
Jonathan Harker.
It was Jonathan Harker,
Okay.
so it was a traditional character name.
So magical prowess. That's the
Yes.
enchanting gaze through all creation. You had that, and we call this one magical blood. So vampire blood here acts as a drug, makes vampires. But it doesn't really seem like it's
No,
that one was
that one
was
didn't
there.
have that.
Nigh unkillable, stakes, beheaded, burned to ash.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Shape shifting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Keep him bad.
Leslie Nielsen with big bad ears.
Yep.
Yep.
Distinct appearance. Like fangs, pale, long fingernails,
Yeah.
wear blacks, hissing. There's plenty of hissing.
The man had a hair helmet. So yes.
Cough dependency.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Monstrous or / predatory. That's both in monstrous form as well as stalking and hunting. He kind of hunted. I would give a soft pass on predatory behavior.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Tragic figure.
No.
No. Well, when he was
No.
getting thrown around on the boat, that was pretty tragic.
No.
That was more comedic.
Okay. Yeah, never mind.
Randy.
Oh God, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
This movie was like all in on the
but mostly
vampire and vampirism is horny.
mostly for the women though. He didn't get too horny, but he did.
But his shadow
shadow
was.
Oh, okay. I guess
Shadow's going to
that's
town.
true. The hierarchy with sires, covens, and the high councils or whatever. It's kind of there. I mean, in that he had his two like chicks back at the castle.
Sirens or brides. I think they're sometimes called his brides.
Not
the
only
ones
that,
at the castle.
But he bit Mina, and she was starting to turn. And when they got rid of him, she seemed normal. So
But it doesn't seem as pronounced as some other stuff.
No.
It's just kind of like
it's there.
very loosely there. I would say it's very faintly there.
I have a feeling that Mel Brooks had someone on set one time. They're like, so let's make sure this follows a traditional vampire movie. And he was like, let's just get as many fart and dick jokes in as possible. I don't give a shit about the lore. So,
I mean, so far we're doing pretty good.
yeah.
We're doing better than some movies will do when we get around to them.
That's true.
Twilight.
Sparkle.
And maybe I'll choose that for one of mine just to make y'all suffer.
And this was Lambert's last appearance on our show.
So sunlight weakness,
Gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
the holy weakness,
Yes.
forbiddance. He could pass thresholds, no
Yeah,
problem.
there was no threshold barrier at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Water weakness, I guess inconclusive.
Yeah, they never really did anything to really do that because they even went like he had to travel by boat,
But he got out of his coffin.
and
ate
he didn't have the
people.
dirt with him, so
Yeah.
it wouldn't suggest that he needed dirt to kind of circumvent it.
I have the silver weakness. That's where I put the no reflection, but we can always pull that one out if we don't think it fits quite as much.
Well, I mean,
Because the silver weakness isn't really there, but he did cast no reflection.
yeah, I mean, I still feel like we should leave them kind of together because so much of, like, if we get further in and we're seeing like no that silver doesn't have an effect, but they have no reflection, then we'll separate them. But I don't know that that's ever the case.
I don't know. And no photographs ever came up, so I
Yeah.
mean, he at least doesn't cast reflection. And garlic weakness.
Ooh.
Well, and see, there was the point where they do the cross in Mina's hand, and it's a silver cross.
And
So
it
was
burnt her
it
hand.
silver that was burning her, or the cross, or was it both? And that's one of the things and I think it would be more typical that crosses would be made, or crucifixes would be made of silver than gold in that time.
So I know I argued against y'all both pretty heavily about the whole silver thing last video. Mm-hmm. But, like, isn't part of the lore it has to be a silver cross?
No. No.
Traditionally, I don't think so.
No? Okay. No. Could you say down in the comments if you were, like, a, big vampire aficionado? Because I could have swore I heard at one time it had to be a silver cross.
I'll leave a comment in the video for you about that.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Amber will say she's never heard of it and prove you wrong, and we'll move on.
Roll back. Let's roll this. Stop the video. Let's roll it back 15 seconds, and I'll go. Could you please leave a comment?
So of the 19, only 4 don't really match. So it's fairly traditionally vampire.
Then it sucks.
Well, that's
still to be debated.
That's something else.
It blows?
No, that's for other movies.
Oh, that's our porn reviews. Sorry. Okay, my bad. Anyways, this is the part where we're going to get into spoilers. We're going to talk about the movie a good bit. So,
I mean, you could track it down. Look, it's right there.
Yeah, like you can probably find
It's probably in any Mel Brooks collection that you can find.
Easily. So
as for streaming, I guess I didn't check to see if it was streaming anywhere because we had it. So that was not necessary. Streaming anywhere? No, it's more like looks like buy or rent on Amazon.
I'm fairly certain if you're creative, if you go on YouTube, you could probably find it there.
But support your local Mel Brooks.
But support Mel Brooks, support Leslie Nielsen's estate. Yes.
Yeah. So,
and I'm not joking about that. Seriously, go out and pay some money to watch this movie because it's worth it. So. I'm assuming you're gone, and here we go.
All right. So, I mean, of the Mel Brooks movies, it's not my favorite of his.
It's not my favorite by far.
But it's not his worst that I've seen either, I don't think.
I'd say it's top 5 for me.
Of Mel Brooks or just movies?
Mel Brooks.
Other top 5 Mel
is
that
Young Frankenstein?
Does that mean it's number 5?
Are you calling mine or are you calling?
No, yours. Young Frankenstein.
Okay.
Blazing Saddles.
Mm-hmm.
Men in Tights.
We'll put a pin on that one. Circle back.
I'm gonna put Spaceballs.
Definitely.
Oh wait, we're gonna take Men in Tights and put the producers.
There you go.
And then
which producers?
The Matthew Broderick one, Nathan Lane one.
So
he likes that version better than the original Gene Wilder one. I know you can argue differently, but you prefer.
I mean, you're right. There are going to be some sticklers for Mel Brooks out there that are probably going to be like, man, fuck that guy. He doesn't like the old school like Bialystok and Bloom. But there are things that I would swap between the two. I'm not crazy about Matthew Broderick and the new producers. Mm-hmm. I'd rather them have like Gene Wilder in that spot. But Gene Wilder, I think, was deceased at that point.
No, he
passed away in the early 2010s, I think.
Yeah.
And that movie came out in early 2000s. He was still alive, but he was very old.
And I don't think he was acting as much at that point anymore either.
Yeah, well,
I don't think he could have probably.
I'm not.
Anyways.
Everybody else in that movie I thought was great. Mm-hmm. I'm not crazy about Matthew Broderick in that movie, but it's still, to me, I think the songs are just their higher production value.
I think that's the big thing for me. Even though this is not a producer's review, but for me, the difference between the original producers and the new one is I like the fact that they made it a musical.
Yeah.
Because it's about musicals, and now you have songs to make that movie a musical. And as someone with a musical background, just from being in show choir and whatnot in high school, that part speaks more to me than a movie that's about musicals that really has no
musical until
you get Springtime for Hitler.
Yeah, I think that's.
Do they have a version of that?
Mm-hmm.
I've only seen the original once. It was just okay. But but I mean, you also don't have Jonathan Barrowman in the original, and I know he's
Brilliant
your favorite
smile.
Part of that whole movie.
That man's got a smile that warms my heart. I swear to God.
John
he was the head Nazi that was doing
Nazi
that.
during Spring, and he's like, "Winter for Poland and France."
Right.
that grin, it gets him every time.
It makes me laugh every single time. And then she pointed out that it was John Barrowman that was in Arrow, and I was like, holy shit, that is the guy. So, yeah, I would love to shake his hand at Dragon Con. But,
and be like, I loved you in Springtime for Hitler.
Yeah.
that would probably blow his mind that was the only thing you want to say you loved him in.
Hey, man, he was awesome. He was awesome. That man could dance.
He's also like a very just awesome dude from everything I've seen. Like
I've not seen too much from him.
He's the kind of guy. He's kind of got a similar to Will Wheaton kind of vibe where he's like fuck bullies and fuck people who would put you down, and like very embracing of the fans and
anti-intolerance.
Okay.
Yeah, he seems like
he's not very tolerant of intolerance.
Yes,
pretty much. But I mean,
seems like he's straight up G.
Like he's the kind of guy who like wants to hug his fans. He loves his fans.
But this isn't a John Barrowman review.
We get off track easily.
Surprisingly not present in Dracula Dead and Loving It.
No. Going back to your movie.
Yes. So
that would make this 5 in your Mel Brooks movies, probably.
I would put it ahead of
Spaceballs.
I'd put it ahead of Spaceballs, and I'd actually put it ahead of Producers too.
Okay, so 3.
Well, I mean, like this movie's just got so many like. Producers made me laugh. This movie has genuine laughs that get me every single time. I saw nothing. I saw nothing. I saw everything. Peter McNichol's so good in this movie.
I noticed. I think most of the good parts came from him and from me.
Yeah.
Because there's that one. I like this Renfield better than the other Renfield and Bram Stoker. Just because the other one is kind of like he's crazy.
My favorite Renfield is still Xander.
Oh yeah, he was a good Renfield too.
He was the Renfield in the Dracula episode of Buffy.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't remember that.
Vader.
I don't remember that.
That's if that could hurt the master, Vader.
I'm gonna take your word for it.
He was great. No, because it leads right into the episode where he has the duplicitous, like the evil twin, evil twin, and he's coming off of that, and he's feeling really down on himself because he was like, I'm tired of being everybody's butt monkey. Yeah.
It's always Xander's eating bugs.
So he was a Renfield.
Well, Tom Waits he's just weird. Tom Waits was the guy that was the Renfield in Bram Stoker's, and he's just weird.
Yeah, and this one he's just kind of the crazy.
Yeah, he's...
And it's so funny because Peter McNichols though is very well known for like this role. He's also well known for his role in Ghostbusters 2 when it comes to movies. But most people then are like, well, what else he's been in? And I know he was in Ally McBeal. He was in Grey's Anatomy, aka Fake Doctor. And in both of those, he plays more of hard ass types, lacking like the physical comedy or the over the top kind of stylish comedy that was in both those movies. And so he's kind of much like a stern, dour guy in those movies.
So I'll mention a few roles that you probably recognize him from. I don't know if you watched Harvey Birdman.
No, not really.
So he was the voice of X the Eliminator in that, but in the Batman games he was Jervis Tetch.
He did play the Batman.
That's right. Wait, you have an Xbox, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean...
No.
He doesn't want to play the Batman games.
Games are fucking awesome.
I don't want to be Batman.
Okay, he was Tessebo in Star Wars Rebels.
Sebo.
Tessebo?
No, it's probably Sebo. Tseebo. Sebo. I don't know who Sebo is in Rebels.
He was in one episode.
And I know you've watched the movie Battleship.
No?
So good. Nick, have you seen Battleship?
You haven't either.
I have seen Battleship.
Why would you have seen Battleship?
Because I was intrigued on what they were going to do for a board game for a fucking movie. Because my buddy was like, have you seen Battleship? I was like, no. He's like, Chutes and Ladders next.
He's in Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, Grey's Anatomy. Apparently he's Firefly and G.I. Joe. So he's got a long list of credits.
Yeah, Ghostbusters in this movie. That's all I know him from.
Yeah.
I'm sure I could sit here and find more, but...
I mean, I think I watched Ally McBeal back in the day, but I remember very, very little.
I just remember he was her boss, kind of.
I thought he was her love interest in that show.
He might have been, but he was her boss at first.
I don't remember.
I don't know. I didn't really watch a lot of that. The whole Ooga Chaka Baby was like the thing that kind of boosted that thing into like like infamy of like, ooh, watch for that baby was. So
I'm pretty
dumb.
sure that baby is what created memes.
That didn't create memes, but it was definitely an early meme before.
Yeah, but like the popularity of that like clip, if YouTube had existed when that was on, that would have been like one of like the high viewed clips because I was like, oh, did you see the Ooga Chaka baby?
The thing was creepy as fuck.
Yeah, it was, and it's just like never like that kind of like was a turn off for me. It's like I don't want to watch that creepy baby.
Welcome to our creepy baby review. I give that baby a 2.
Well, does it earn more points if it is creepy, or does it earn less points if it's not?
It
creepy?
only gets the 2 points because it's fucking creepy.
Well, so if we're doing a creepy baby review, isn't a creepy baby a 10 and a very cute not creepy baby a 0?
But my baby would then be a 0, and I don't want him to say my baby's a 0.
Well, it's a 0 on the scale of how awful is your baby, which makes a 0 like a 10.
I'm not playing this game. So, anyways, I'll get the ball rolling on this. One of the tried and true parts that always makes me laugh every single time, and it's a genuine laugh every single time, is the garlic. When he comes into the window for the first time and he doesn't see the garlic, and then he walks in and does the woo, like that delivery, it's perfect. Leslie Nielsen, you're a fucking national treasure.
I don't know where the fuck you're looking,
But
but we'll move on.
That man is definitely in
Are you
heaven.
seeing stars?
That man is definitely in heaven. I'm telling you that right now. So let's hear about what you thought about the movie.
So I mean, it's if you watch it, and if you've ever seen Robin Hood Men in Tights, you're gonna see the fact that if you weren't aware that Mel Brooks pulls from the same pool of actors frequently, which should have been apparent long before this movie, because just look at his older works and how often he cast Gene Wilder and other characters or actors, you'll see that most of the cast of Men in Tights, including some of the prominent cast, are recast as different people in this movie, and I'm not sure which one came first. I think this one.
Men in Tights was 93. This one's 95.
Okay, and that's what I thought, because Bram Stoker's was 92. So, and this plays off of so much of Bram Stoker.
Yeah.
So, it was clearly so. It just there's so much of it just feels derivative and kind of the humor and jokes, and it's just like, to me, it's just it just doesn't it felt hollow. So I don't get the same enjoyment, because it's just like, they don't play up the chastity thing like they do between Mina and her nurse, but at the same time they're occupying almost identical roles as Marion and her nurse.
Yeah, Brunhilde was that?
Broomhilda, yeah. And it's just like the dynamics and everything. It's just it's stagnant. So it felt like it was just lacking something to me. And so I just, in the jokes, they're not as I don't find the garlic joke particularly funny. I don't particularly find it funny about a guy sneaking a peek up a girl's bed. That's kind of really creepy to me.
That part's not the funny part.
Yeah, but then he's the joke that he makes about it is based off of the really creepy thing. And so there's just, Renfield's funny, but there's a lot of ick factor there.
I mean, he's an icky guy.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's just, I don't mind the changes to the original story, because clearly if you're familiar with Bram Stoker's Dracula, you'll see that they altered the story to make it so you get more of Renfield and less of Jonathan Harker. And so they kind of rolled some of Harker's role in Transylvania all the way into Renfield. And so you get a good story from that, because you're really following more of just Dracula or
Yeah.
But it's just, there's just a lot that just, meh.
Maybe they just didn't want to give it the whoa factor.
I mean, that's
that guy's a very good actor, and they were like, Keanu Reeves kind of destroyed that role. Let's just leave you funny and endearing.
I also find it more fitting for the story if Renfield goes, and because he goes there to sell him property and then gets screwed up and sent back, so they have to send another person. That's just a waste of time. Dracula, what the hell are you doing? Just have him come over, have him sell you the property, and then take him over. And
I think in both stories that we're missing a part, I think, about probably, I think it's more than he just got messed up. I think he had to go back to, because he was like, oh, I want more. I think, to me, it's like an unspoken thing where it's like, clearly he's decided he wants to do more transactions. And when he returns, they're like, we can't send you back. You're really screwed up. You need to be in a sanitarium. You know?
I think we were talking about why he bought so many properties.
We never found out that answer.
So I've been thinking about that, and I think it's because that's 10 safe houses.
That's possible.
Like, and he bought it like...
So you never know which one.
Or
he's
he's going
Yeah.
for a gentrification scheme back in the 1890s where he's just buying up a lot of properties.
Film full of vampires, keep the property forever and waiting for that property value to skyrocket.
way,
Yeah.
way ahead of his time.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know. That's what they do. It's part of a real estate scheme.
I mean, vampires are schemers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you bought 10 properties all around the city and then like people just end up going dead in like different areas of the city, and then you could just escape to like
That's what I always assumed it was.
yeah, but I don't know, just a shower thought I had the other day.
Oh, speaking of things that we learned, we were actually weirdly watching, and I'm going to give a shout out to a random YouTube channel, Tasting History video earlier. It's a guy who does recipes. I watch a lot of these now because I'm always looking for new recipes to cook. And he was doing a garlic sauce for roasted beef, effectively. And while he was doing that, like while it's cooking, he gives you like this history lesson.
Okay.
And this time it was the history of why garlic is associated with vampires.
Oh, okay.
And one of the things that they pointed out was
It's the smell, like, or it's the medicinal qualities in garlic. It's used in a lot of like medical procedures.
Okay.
And it's particularly blood suckers.
Okay.
and like leeches, it repels leeches.
Okay.
Which is, and then they talked about various different diseases that could be confused as vampirism back in that time,
Like
which is like
rabies.
porphyria and rabies were the two big ones, because porphyria has like the sunlight weakness and pale skin, so a lot of stuff that's associated. But then they're like rabies tends to make people act really crazy and,
Bite people,
and
foaming at the
aggressive,
mouth.
and so that the two common animals associated with are wolves
And bats.
and bats, or dogs and bats. So that's why werewolves and vampires might be associated with rabies. And
But he said in particular, garlic was used to repel like blood sucking stuff, and it's used for like a lot of different blood medicinal purposes. And so it's not a gigantic leap of logic to say if it works on little bloodsuckers,
It works on big ones.
it works on big ones.
and then he also brought up that it was common to stuff the mouths of the dead with garlic as well,
Just
to help ensure that they stayed resting. So it was one of those things, and it was like, how fortuitous that we're watching this today.
Well, if for some reason, I'm dead and someone's like, let's stuff some garlic in his mouth so he doesn't come back, you let me come back and eat people. I want that.
Okay, I will honor your wishes, Nick,
Thank you.
as your good friend.
Thank you. I want to eat people. Let me eat people.
I'm gonna say no, because the first thing that David Arquette's character did in the Buffy movie was he went and found his buddy, and he's like, "Let me in. I'm hungry."
Well, it all depends on...
If you float outside of my window, it's not gonna be cool because I'll just be like, "Nick, you're floating out
But what
front
if
of my..."
I want to be a vampire too? Nick, would you make me a vampire too?
Probably.
Yeah, see? So it's all good.
Don't worry. I already have an invitation to your house.
It's
not a
rescinded
key.
when you die.
No, it isn't.
Not if he still has a key.
I want to pull that bastard right out here and show you.
Make sure we bury...
show
I'll
you on
make
the
sure you're
keychain.
buried with your keys. Don't
There we
worry.
go.
Okay, fine. At the funeral, I'll be like, "Could you put some more eyeshadow on him? He'd like that." And dig around in his fucking pockets to find his key.
Yeah, can I see his keys?
But no, if
I'm really sorry about your loss. I'm gonna need that key back.
well, I mean, if we live in a 2-story house, we mainly dwell in the second story. If I see you floating outside of the front window, I'll be like, "Nick,
Why would he do that when he could
go
probably
to
just come to the back door and
go
walk?
to the back deck. You're creeping me out with all the floating. Yeah, come on in." But nah. But yeah, it's okay. It's not rescinded. Okay, if you just don't come here and eat us. Start with the dog. Move to the cat.
But just promise me that there are certain people that we know that you'll just kill to kill and, not turn into vampires.
Probably. We don't need a bunch of vampires running around.
Yeah, I mean, So, what would be the logical way to do it in this world? I mean, like, or do we have to follow everything on the list?
Well,
This is kind of like if zombies break out, like you start shooting them in the head because that doesn't necessarily kill every zombie.
Yeah, it's true.
So you kind of gotta play around with it and see.
And the rules for this movie were bitten twice.
No, drained of blood. Drained of blood.
Of all blood, and he just didn't drain her of all blood in the first. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
He gets full there, apparently.
But it made the empty Capri Sun sound when he was done at the end of it.
It's because he had a straw.
I'm just saying that's when the Capri Sun's empty, it makes that sound.
No, it just means you know how good suction.
Oh. Well, I mean, so
what you do know that, like, when your drink gets low and not empty, that sometimes you still get that hollow sound too.
If you don't put your straw in deep enough.
Yeah, you might have to dig it around and find the right spot.
You've got to tilt your little juice box and get it in the bottom corner.
That's true. But then if there's like no airflow.
Yeah, so you gotta get to. Plus, if you're smart, you're not going to immediately kill every victim right away.
Yeah, it's fun. That's the part of the predatory thing where you're hunting for the thrill of it.
Yeah, you rampage.
Yeah.
You go into bloodlust, I imagine, the first time.
Now, one thing I will give this movie is it was much more, and in comparison to Bram Stoker's, which is the only one we have on record for, is he was much more proficient in magic powers. And
still somehow not very proficient either.
When I say proficient, he had a lot more though.
Yeah.
It was more than just the hypnotism. He had he could move the unlock, and he had little magical abilities that he could do, and it was he had range on his hypnotism.
He didn't have to be looking at you. He could be in the front yard just pointing his hand towards the bedroom.
And I think you're right there.
Yeah, and that's good enough.
I think he had line of sight on her. So.
Well, he would have been looking through the window, but then on the pickup shot where they're looking at the place, you can't view it. You can't see in the window.
Okay, so I'm going to say this. So in a lot of vampire movies that I've seen in the past, once you're under the thrall of the vampire, kind of like what Jerry did with Charlie's Girlfriend, where he's just talking from really far away.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we never saw him hypnotize the nurse, and she was being affected from a distance.
Yeah, from a distance, he was like, "Go to sleep."
If it was just Mina,
okay.
But I don't think he had affected Mina yet either. That was the first time he had impacted Mina.
Yeah.
So both. He
had good enchanting powers.
Man's a wizard.
Yeah. So it's something I just picked up on, and some of that was obviously partly for the comedic effect of that particular scene, but
I guess in the trade-off he got less monstrous forms. He could only turn into a bat. He didn't get Wolfman.
And he wasn't even a full bat. It was a bat body with Leslie Nielsen's head.
So I think there was a point, right before he hit the glass, where he had, the bat body. I think it was the really bad bat in the beginning of the movie, where it had the bat head, because it looked like when he was flying towards the window, it had the bat head. And then when she shut the window, then I guess for comedic effect, they put, his face on it, just so he could view the, before he hit the glass.
Anytime they had a close-up of the bat where it was going to do it, it had his head, even at the end.
I think the only full bat was the one at the beginning.
And I'm sure that bat was probably as rubbery as the fake spider and the black beetle that were completely and utterly plastic, and you could tell as soon as you saw them on the screen. They were like, we're not even going to try to do anything. They were phoning in these.
I mean, you can also tell when Peter Nichol has the grasshopper leg in his mouth, and when it's wiggling, you can see his jaw move, tweaking.
Or all of the really bad bodies that were ever used in tunnels.
Yeah, well, the door closed and his rubber body fell. And his arms were still
or the cloth body for Peter McNichols at the end where they're stepping on him, and it's that's clearly not even
head and hands from below the floor, and then the rest of it's just a pillow with a shirt on it. Yeah, but that's classic.
That's part of the campiness of Mel Brooks. It's fine,
it's slapstick.
Yeah, they're not going to waste a lot of money on that shit. No. Plus, this movie did have a lot of star power in it.
No, honestly, of all of Mel Brooks' movies, really and truthfully, I think Spaceballs is the only one where they went all in on the trying to do special effects and not have just the slapstick kind of stuff.
So we're going to talk 2 seconds about the star power that's in this movie. So you have Leslie Nielsen as Dracula, Peter McNichol as Renfield, Steven Weber as Harker. Now,
I love wings.
So you'll a lot of people are not going to be familiar with Steven Weber's name, but he was in a show that was actually quite popular back in the day called Wings.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
So
It's about an
I know it's
airport.
about pilots, but
It was about an airport.
yeah, it was like it was a little private airport or something like that. But
my own private airfield.
the best thing to come out of that show was it Stephen Hayden Church or something like that? The guy who played Lowell. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was like
You mean
Sandman.
Sandman.
Yeah. So he was the mechanic. But anyways, you had Amy Yazbek as Mina. You had Lisette Anthony as Lucy. You had the legendary Harvey Korman as Dr. Seward. You had Mel Brooks as Professor Van Helsing. But then again, Mel Brooks is in every fucking movie except for one or two that I can think of. He puts himself in everything.
And he wasn't in the producers, but his voice was.
Yeah, I was born in Dusseldorf, and that is why they call me Rolf. No, he was Don't Be Stupid, Be a Smarty, Come and Join the Nazi Party. And even though he was not in Young Frankenstein, he did a lot of sound effects, like the cat and stuff like that.
Okay.
So you had Mark Blankfield as Martin, and Mark Blankfield, we're pretty sure as we were watching it, yeah, we think it was Blinken from Men in Tights. Megan Cavanaugh as Essie,
Who is also Broomhilde from
Men in Tights.
Men in Tights, and she was Marla Hooch in A League of Their Own.
Really?
Yeah, that was Marla.
I did not know that. Interesting.
Yeah. I looked at her. I knew that was Marla.
And
They just don't doll up Marla.
And then
I think the only person that stuck out to me just from the Mel Brooks one is that they had like one scene before they did the dance number, and we're like, is that Will Scarlett O'Hara from Men in Tights?
Yeah.
I don't. Is that?
so
Matthew Peretta. Yeah.
Peretta. He was
Will Scarlett in
Will
Men in
Scarlett.
Tights.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Okay.
Yeah, you nailed it. The only other name I see in here, like I'm looking at the rest of the cast, and I did not spot him initially, but you had Charlie Callis, who was Man in Straitjacket. I don't remember who he was, but Charlie Callis is another one of those guys that's like an old school legend, and he was, I think, one of Mel Brooks' best friends back in the day.
Is that maybe the guy that bent down and looked through the little looky hole at Renfield?
No,
I
because
don't
that was
think
one of
so.
the guards.
Yeah.
Because they were like, guard, why are you doing that?
Yeah, that guard was this guy, I think,
No,
Avery.
that's the peasant on the coach.
Oh, okay.
Coach driver.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think the rest of these names, like there's
I mean, even some of them, I don't know how big they really are.
right, and we're not knocking any of them. It's just they don't really stand out to me as anybody that was spent in any of his other movies. So, but good God, look, there's like a ton of names here.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, this is one of the movies where like it's a guilty pleasure for me. Like if it's ever like this would be considered a trap movie. That my wife used to put on movies.
I thought I was being nice
You
for
were
putting on movies that I knew you would like.
You were being nice. You were being nice.
You would come out and you'd come to bed and there'd be something nice on TV, and so you could have something you could watch while you're getting ready for bed. Little did I know you have zero willpower to refuse to just turn off the TV.
Yeah, turn off TVs. Turn off the TV for movies you've seen a million times, and go to bed so you can get enough sleep for work in the morning.
But the part that I love is just about to come on.
You own it.
Yeah.
You own the part that's about to come up.
I'm just
I'm
saying.
one of those people. It's like, okay, I put on something I want to watch. Okay, no, I'm tired. Turn it off.
Let's
Sleep.
that's not. But then there were many nights where you would put on something for me, so I would come to bed. I'd get in the shower. I'd get out and be like, oh man, I love this part, and I'd sit there and watch it for an hour. And then after that movie went off, it was like, and now coming on is something else that I really like. And I'm like, oh great, I have to sit here and watch this fucking movie now too.
That was
So-
all you.
Go to bed.
That one's you. I don't have nothing to do with it. It's not a trap movie. You just have zero willpower. You're feeble-minded. Dracula could totally entrance you.
Yeah, that's true.
You'd be eating spiders in no time.
Gladly, I'll take small lives. But what was your favorite part of this movie?
I think like my favorite joke in this is when they get Renfield back and they lock him up and he's like, "You're gonna stay in here until you rot." And he's like, "Ah!" And then he opens up the door like a second later and he's like, "You're free to go." It's like, what? Why am I getting out? It's like, oh, good behavior. It's like, I've only been in here a moment. Well, during that one moment, you were on the best behavior.
Very, very good. Yeah, that was definitely a good one. The other thing that I really love about this movie was that man's he always has to have the last word, and like I had never seen that very last scene in the movie. I just wanted to check just to see if something was there.
Oh, something at the end.
But they do that Faladnik, Fushta, and like they're basically going back and forth, and then. One of the things that always makes me laugh is when Mel Brooks is like, oh, yeah, that man, he stops at nothing. He opens the door and cusses at him out the door and shuts the door. And then Leslie Nielsen just walks by the window and says something. That part had me in fucking tears. What I did not realize is, like, at the end of the movie, Mel Brooks says another insult after he's burnt to ash.
Yeah, opens up the coffin.
Yeah. And then just on a whim tonight at the end of the movie, I decided to watch to the end of the credits. And sure enough, you have Leslie Nielsen laughing and getting the last word before the credits end. So, you know, all these years later, the movie still surprises me. So just watch it. It's a good movie.
Yeah, whereas I think I've been watching this one since '95.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that one right there is my copy, so I've seen it enough times, and it's not delivering quite as much as it used to anymore, just because I think I've seen it so many times.
Well, I mean, it doesn't...
And that's more of the fact that I've seen it a bunch, and therefore now it's just not hitting like it used to.
Diminishing returns.
Whereas I think Men in Tights has less diminishing returns for me, because I could still watch that one, but I also just really like Carrie Elways.
Well, I mean, unlike other Robin Hoods, I could speak with an English accent.
I mean, like, and then you got Latrine and their sheriff is hilarious.
The sheriff of Rottingham's good.
It's just...
Is it Richard Lewis? Is that
Richard Lewis
is Prince John? It's still really good. And
they have the song.
An early appearance.
The song.
Yeah, an earlier appearance of Dave Chappelle.
So
before he got canceled.
Yeah.
Canceled.
Yeah.
I still like him.
Or just before he really blew up too.
Yeah.
So I want to ask y'all's opinion on this. So I'm looking at the Rotten Tomatoes scores for this movie. Mm-hmm. What are your bids for what the critics gave it?
44.
44?
It's pretty close to. I was going to do like 42.
For critics?
Yep.
Okay, so critics gave it an 11.
Okay.
Wow.
I was being generous that they would give Mel Brooks higher.
And then what do you think the audience score was?
51.
51?
63.
63. Okay, it came on as a 49 with the audience, which I think is it's not right. It's a shame.
Hey, it's closer to my review.
And then, as a nice little round off, what do you think it got on IMDb?
I think most people that are looking up this movie are probably fans of Mel Brooks, because that's where they get their rating, don't they? IMDb is from fan ratings, or is it?
I'm not sure.
I think it's fan ratings. Yeah, I think anybody can leave a review.
That I'm gonna give 5.2.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it a 6.1.
Okay, 5.8. So
we split the difference.
We did.
I still think that's
I
a
almost
shame.
gave it a 5.9. I was like, no, I'll give it a little bit higher.
I mean, and so the IMDb one's a bit closer to where I was sitting then, because I would have rounded 5.8 right up to a 6.
I mean, that movie to me is easily a 7. But
I mean, it's
like I said, you have the fact that I think part of the issue with this movie is in the Mel Brooks era, it's coming off of Spaceballs, it's coming off of Men in Tights, and those are two of the highest regarded Mel Brooks movies from the 80s and 90s. Especially for our generation. So then you have this movie, which is poking fun at a horror film that a lot of people might not even watch, Bram Stoker's, and so they might not be super familiar with the overall lore. So it's just like there's not a foundation. But if you walked up to most people in the 90s and asked them about the story of Robin Hood, you had Prince of Thieves that had come out, you had the Disney Robin Hood, so there's a lot of basis, and most people know the general story of Robin Hood. And then Spaceballs was riffing on Star Wars, so you have these two big films of his that are kind of like the Renaissance after he had those hits in the 70s.
I mean, what is the true background of Robin Hood? Like, I don't know why he's related to Will Scarlet. I don't know what made him want to start robbing from the rich and giving to the poor.
He comes back from the Crusades, and his family's been... It's pretty close to what you got. Is he was a nobleman who came back from the Crusades. His family's in disarray and dishonor, and he has to and he's decided to fight back against the sheriff who has taken over basically in lieu of the crown.
Yeah,
while the king is
King
still.
John took over or whatever, or is ruling in place of his brother. I don't remember the real king's name.
Richard.
The Lionheart, or the Patrick Stewart.
I think it's Richard the Lionheart was at the time, but I mean between Prince of Thieves and Men in Tights, you get a lot of the actual foundation of it. There was a crusade. There was contention within the crown of who was going to be, and then you have them taking over, and Robin Hood's just like, hey, the downtrodden are really downtrodden, and the wealthy are just getting fat and rich.
Yeah,
so let's just take from them.
The people in power are taxing so extravagantly that they're pulling from all the common folk and just have all this money. So he's taking the money that's being stolen from the poor and giving it back.
I don't
to
know
the poor.
if he was a
Truly
true
a fantasy
historical
concept.
figure or if he was like a folk hero that just arose.
I don't think he's historical.
I think he's just a folk hero from basically British legend. But the British legend also, like, typically Will Scarlet is, in every version that I've seen, Will Scarlet is typically the half brother of Robin Hood who has his father remarried after Robin Hood's mother died, had a kid, and that's typically. At least that was the Christian Slater one from Prince of Thieves. I think Will Scarlet is still a half brother in Men in Tights, but I'm not entirely sure.
No, he was from Georgia.
Oh, from Georgia.
He's Will Scarlet O'Hara.
That's true.
He's from Georgia. So what part of Georgia are you from? South Central?
Well, I never.
Yeah.
No.
He talked with a southern accent, and he had like the little dagger thing.
Well, unlike other Will Scarlets, he could talk with a southern accent, y'all.
Well, Christian Slater really didn't talk with a British accent, so.
Well, Christian Slater only talks like Christian Slater.
We're going to have to do Alone in the Dark at some point in time.
Yeah, well, I mean, Christian Slater is Christian Slater. He's basically doing a bad impression
You don't have to be. That's not a vampire movie. You're safe.
Christian Slater is basically doing a bad impression of Jack Nicholson. So, that's just my opinion. Come at me, Slater. I loved you in Archer. You were really good in
Hey,
that.
be warned. He's got the free time to come after you.
Oh, shit. All right. So, is there anything else y'all would like to cover about this movie? Like, should we go ahead and say?
I mean, once you start pulling apart jokes in a comedy, it kind of falls apart. I think it adheres to the Dracula story. A little enough.
Enough. I mean,
it jams some characters together, kind of like Lucy, Suitors, and Harker were all kind of jammed into one.
Yeah, and for me, it's like it did attempt to make something of itself from the original source material, and I don't fault it for that. I've seen enough variations of Dracula stories to go, that one was fine. That one was good.
It had a coherent story that went from point A to point B with jokes along the way.
With plenty of dick and fart jokes along the way. No, surprisingly, no fart jokes in this
I don't
movie.
think there's any fart jokes.
Not one.
I don't know if there's a lot of dick jokes, but there is. Well, I guess enema jokes. Those might be fart jokes.
Okay.
They're fart adjacent.
Watery fart jokes. Got it. All right.
And when I was a kid, I didn't know what an enema was. So those jokes, I'm kind of like, I don't know what that is.
Give them an enema.
And another, and another. Oh, Harvey Keitel. All right, anyways, not Harvey Keitel. God damn, Roger Corman. Anyways.
That was Harvey Korman.
I think it's Harvey Korman.
Wait, where am I getting that confused? Why is it so late? Why do we do these at night?
Because that's when the boy is asleep.
It's going to do this after the boy is asleep, and we maybe could have watched that movie with him awake. I don't think ending when it was scared him, but
no, there would have been.
I don't think so.
No, he would have been.
He would just been standing there going, no.
If it's not visually, if it doesn't catch his eye, he just goes no, until Amber and I go ha ha ha. Then he goes.
So apparently it's funny.
Yeah, he picks up on cues from us.
He is getting better at picking up social cues.
I guess maybe the beginning pages when it might be scary, when it's flapping through all the.
That was probably my favorite part of the movie. I did enjoy all of the graphic.
Yeah, it almost seemed like it was going to be a horror movie.
Well, I mean, if you didn't know what you were getting into, like if I'd have been sitting there and you just turned this on, I'd be like, oh, we're going to watch something scary. And the second it's like Mel Brooks, I was like, never mind. Okay. Setting a tone that you are not going to achieve. Got it.
I did enjoy seeing that. I think that a lot of that was actual historical representations of the Dracula myth.
Yeah, or just vampires.
Or vampires over the time.
A couple of them look like little gremlins and imps and stuff like that, sitting on top of people in their
Yeah, I
sleep.
enjoyed it. I thought that was fun.
That was neat.
So I'm going to guess that they fielded that workout to somebody who did not know what movie it was going to go on.
Probably.
Where they were like, we need you to make an opening for a movie.
I mean, if I'm going to make an opening to a joke movie, I might go through and be super serious about it, because being serious about this kind of stuff and playing it straight
Well, I mean,
is funny.
Playing it straight for when Leslie Nielsen is your main star is right on point, because he's
that's why
won
he's funny.
his fame on being the straight man.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why he's funny, is because he plays it straight.
Yeah.
So he was popular before then. So he had a show about Francis Mary and the Swamp Fox back in the day that was like a series. And then I think he was a soap opera guy. They were trying to make him a leading man.
And he was in the Poseidon Adventure. Is that the boat that's upside down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he was being set as leading man material, and then I think they put him in Airplane, and he was so fucking funny as like, of
The
course
straight
I'm
man.
serious.
He played a straight man.
Yeah, of course I'm serious, and don't call me Shirley. Like he was so good in that. I think that's just kind of like where that took hold, and thank God it did, because one of my favorite memories of all time, and I know I've said this in other videos, is watching the Naked Gun movies with my father. Like those were just so good. What's wrong?
I want to check something. Open this up
Oh,
for me.
sorry.
I don't want to dig my phone out. IMDb.
I was going to tell you how to do it, and then I was like, wait a minute, I don't want to say
Where's
the
your IMDb?
pattern on a
Thank you.
camera. But anyways, yeah, it's,
Yeah, don't make work for me to cut out stuff. But I guess at that point in time, they had to have your phone.
what do you mean?
If I didn't want to say your password on camera.
Oh.
Don't make me cut shit out.
Yeah, no. I don't want to do that. Like, seeming this stuff is like a big pain in the ass. But,
Okay, it's not what I thought.
no.
Nope.
What were you thinking?
Not gonna say.
Okay, not worth mentioning.
Not worth mentioning.
So, Amber, would you recommend this movie to somebody?
If you've never seen it, share it once.
No? How about you, Nick?
I think it's worth a watch at least.
Yeah.
It's funny enough. There's not a lot of good comedies nowadays.
I would say that it's gonna probably be one of the 3 or 4 that I would like really kind of push people towards. Like, if they were asking for like a good comedy movie, it's hard for me. I hate the question, "What's your favorite movie?" because like you can't.
Yeah, it's hard to pick.
It really is. Like, it's got to go by genre.
Most of the time people ask you that question, you're like, I've seen movies. Why can't I think of a fucking movie?
I have a go-to list, and I just grab one from that list typically.
So I guess if we're keeping it on theme, Lance, does it suck?
Oh, it definitely sucks.
Amber, does it suck?
Wait.
Suck is good.
Suck. Yes, it sucks.
And bites is bad.
See, I'm so middle of the road.
I think it nibbles.
Yeah, yeah, it sucks from a Capri Sun,
Okay.
but just like Leslie Nielsen did.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I think it's great. But yeah, it's as far as it comes to vampire movies.
What, Nick, does it suck?
That says nibbles.
Okay.
It's not even a rating, or did you just make that shit up?
I made it up. Our rating is sucks, bites, and I don't think it's amazing. I don't think it's awful. I think it's in the middle-ish, but slightly more enjoyable. So if we're going pure,
So it's old man nibbles gently.
yeah,
Wasn't that the joke?
it's old man takes his dentures out before he bites.
Why do I-
Wasn't that the joke?
Why
Old
the
man
f-
nibbles gently.
Why the fuck do I remember that?
Wasn't that like one of those like Japanese shows and
It's
that
the
you and
library thing.
Joe were
I
watching?
don't remember.
It was
yeah, it was.
It was the library show where they're sitting in the library and you try to make the guy scream or something.
And you have to be quiet in the library.
And if you're not, somebody comes out like, I think they hit you with a boken.
Yeah, or that you have to sit on your knees and they come and like strike you on the back.
And
or
there was
something.
like old man nibbles gently or something like that, and you guys used to bring that up.
That's because you were sitting in the library. You could not laugh. And old man nibbles gently was an old man come out without his dentures in. It would bite your ear.
Well, he takes them out in front of the person, and then he just starts
biting their ear.
And he starts like biting their shoulder and like their neck and shit. And the person's just like, I remember it. I was sitting there playing my computer, and you're like, Lance, watch this shit. And I was like, the fuck.
That was great. Just watching that realization wash over you, like,
I
oh.
remember that shit. All right. So shall we put a
Put a stake in it.
put a
Yes.
stake in this when it's done?
She's almost dead. How much blood could she have left? Yes, let's.
All right. So
let's
I
wrap this
guess
one
for
up.
our October one, we picked a super spooky vampire movie. I guess join us for November when we pick an actually scary vampire movie. Maybe.
We'll see.
We'll see. We've not decided yet.
So I think we're gonna let Amber pick the next one. So
Good luck, everybody.
Yeah.
see you for Twilight.
Bye, everybody. That's a joke.
Yeah,
Don't
it
watch
is a
Twilight.
joke. Don't watch that.